Well, hey again, everyone. I hope you're all doing fairly well out there and staying safe and doing good things for yourselves. And obviously, time for another update because there's a lot of stuff to get to. There's been a lot of stuff going on since I did the last update, which I don't even remember exactly when I did the last update. It feels a little long considering the stack of media pickups I have over here. It's been a bit of a while, and there's a lot of things to just get you up to speed on what's coming up here on the channel here. So I'm gonna hit that off a little bit here, and it'll tie into a whole bunch of other stuff I'll talk about with stuff I've bought recently. But first off, next thing up on the channel is a commentary for the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. Steve and I record this at the same time as Deep Blue Sea, which this one turned out a lot better in terms of the audio quality because I did post a thing. When I posted the thing for Deep Blue Sea, I said that there was a little bit of an audio issue, probably, I don't know what it was. I was trying to do this, trying to do a little bit of something to kind of minimize the sort of static going on in some of the channels that are happening on like the last couple ones, especially on the Jaws one. There's this kind of buzzing sound that kept popping up every so often, and I tried putting in my extension cable into the setup and everything, and somehow that made it worse. I don't know if things just weren't entirely fully secured or there was a metal piece touching something else to create some kind of weird interference, but Hills Have Eyes one did a little bit of filtering, not nearly as much as the filtering on Deep Blue Sea. Turned out really nicely, so nice clear sailing on that one. And we're working on getting the next set of commentaries put together. Still working on exactly who's doing what and stuff like that, but Return to the Living Dead is definitely on the list because the 35th anniversary is coming very, very soon this month, so we want to get that in the bag. I was thinking about, I only have an older Blu-ray of it, which has sort of the revamped sound mix on it. I was kind of eyeing maybe getting the Scream Factory one. I'm just trying to decide if I want to pull the trigger because the price on Amazon keeps going up, and I can't really seem to find anyone else that has a slightly lower price because like Best Buy sold out of it, and a couple other places are a little higher up on their price, so I'm just trying to feel things out and figure out what I'm going to do and if I can get one before the end of the week. But regardless of that, we want to get that done because it's one of those things like, yeah, it's just such a goddamn good movie that I think it kind of deserves our treatment. It's a perfect film to nail down our sensibilities of doing commentaries and just having a fun time with it. It's going to be, I just expect it to be a very raucous time. It'll be fun. But we're working on a couple other things that are still not set in stone when they're going to happen. So certainly Steve and I will continue on into the Platinum Dunes Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. After that, I'm very, very sketchy on anything else. Steve watched the Texas Chainsaw 3D movie. He actually liked it, but he didn't kind of realize, he didn't kind of pick up on the sort of incongruities of continuity, stuff like that. A lot of things to get into if we get to it at some point, but I think once we do the Platinum Dunes ones, I just want to take a long break from them because they've been very repetitive and stuff like that. So I think we got a good set of things to get up into, going up into the fall and stuff like that, and dealing with some holiday stuff after that. So we'll have a nice wave of things to cleanse the palate, and maybe sometime next year we can step back in and examine some of those newer ones that haven't gone over very well with most audiences. So we got that, and like I said, a couple other things we're trying to work out with Trent. He's got a couple things going on right now he's trying to deal with. We're trying to find the right slots to get everything sorted out to get things done with him. So that's kind of on the pause. I'm still not going to start promoting more things because I've been talking about a couple commentaries that we were going to do that I haven't quite gotten the time slotted into a schedule to align properly to get them recorded. So once we have them in the bag, I'll let you guys know on social media what's going on with those. But review wise, okay, we'll get into some things with the media pickups, but review wise, it's a little bit of a thing. I've been shuffling around a couple titles here. I had a couple things set up that I kind of felt a little bit differently about certain things, and I just wanted to, I'm packing in a lot of stuff that's sci-fi, and I want to make sure that's not like all science fiction. I want to make sure I have a few pieces of versatility and diversity in what I'm going to offer you guys, because I know it's not everyone's bag, and I just don't want to get like deluge of just sci-fi stuff. So I've got a couple things up on the sort of tentative schedule here that I want to get to. So there's that, and very interesting right now is that up on Patreon, I'm premiering a new series on the show, on the channel here. It's called the Retro Video Series. It's something I kind of stirred up a couple weeks ago when I was thinking about some things, about some films that kind of like are stuck in the standard definition video age. Thinking about films like The Abyss or True Lies or Michael Mann's The Keep and some other things here. There's a lot of films that are just almost on the verge of just almost being completely dismissed altogether. They're getting really hard to find, or they just haven't gotten that brand new HD remastered treatment to get a brand new fresh release and get it out in circulation. So it's like they have these very old, tired releases. Some things are out of print, and there's certain films that maybe have gotten the HD treatment, but they might have some very particular release they had back in the day that hasn't been carried over into newer formats, stuff like that. Just like the one title, which I've never seen the film, but the Ron Howard film Ransom actually has the director's cut on Laserdisc that has not been ported over to any format other than Laserdisc. So like that's one of the titles that just keeps like popping up every time I mention that, so I just wanted to vocalize that. But there's a lot of different things like that out there. It's like I don't really want to do I can't really do a review of something like The Abyss as I'd want to, because I really don't want to do some 30-40 minute video where I'm just cutting back to upscaled the letterbox widescreen footage that doesn't look very good. So it's like it's just not the way I'd want to present the film to someone who'd want to see it, because it's all these one wild goddamn things going out there. There's 1,000 things to talk about, regardless of that. So I would have to create a different format of something to kind of talk about these things, instead of just like this thing here doing a video update, kind of being rambly, and I don't really want to do a proper Forever Cinematic review on it. So I kind of thought, what if I created a different show that I could kind of talk about this directly? I don't really have to be in-depth about a review. I can kind of talk about a little bit of the history of the film, and then talk about these releases and why the film maybe hasn't gotten that type of release, or wherever the case is. So I wanted to just do that, and I kind of was hemming and hawing over different little things and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because I already had the Laserdisc of The Abyss. I thought maybe that'd be the first one I'd do, but I've only seen it once. It was a couple of years ago. The special edition cut is almost 3 hours long. It's I just don't have the time right now to sit down and watch it, and then watch the documentary and all these other things. But I did buy the DVD version, which is basically everything's just exactly the Laserdisc put on the DVD. There's no anamorphic version. But I felt it was just easier to grab that for a couple of bucks, so I could just rip all the footage off instead of having to sit here for 4 hours and just capture the footage on the computer. But regardless of that, it was just what do I want to do first to get on top of this thing? And I decided Scream, the unrated director's cut that was only released on Laserdisc, and a few foreign DVD releases, and talk about a few other things with the film and its kind of history and how it's been kind of neglected by the people who own the rights to all the Miramax stuff. So that's the first one I kind of okay, I can go into that very easily and get it going and move forward on it. So that entire first episode is now up on Patreon for a 1-week exclusivity. After that, we'll go live here. But the whole thing on Patreon is okay, if you guys are on there, if you want to go up on there, it's available to all Patreons. Put whatever money you want in, you can go watch that right now. And so I'll probably make a few editing adjustments and stuff like that. I felt like it was a good one to release and get some feedback on it. And then I can make some adjustments later on as I go forward and make the official release. So I really like to get your feedback on it if you end up going on Patreon, or if you just want to wait until it goes live. I definitely want to hear your feedback on it, because it's something that I got a couple of titles that are just very interesting to get to, very kind of exciting to kind of talk about these complicated histories in a bit of a slightly more relaxed fashion, not as formal as the Forever Cinematic ones, a little more laid back, but still engaging, and have a little bit of a different vibe there, and cool stuff. So guys, I'm really excited about that. This time it's going to come maybe a once a month deal. I'll do it when I have a little bit of a break in between different things and need to fill up things where maybe I don't have as much time to devote to a full-fledged movie review video. It'll be a little easier to slip in there a little bit at a time. So guys, hope you all enjoy it when you see it. and we'll move on to our media pickups here. Because like I said, it's been quite a bit of a while. It's been probably over a month. But in regards to that, okay, so I'm going to go in chronological order there because I did get Conan the Barbarian on Blu-ray, as I was talking about last time. And I sat down to start to watch the film. I hadn't watched it in many years. I was getting into it about halfway through. I was like, I really need to take more time to really delve deeper into some research on the film, because I felt like I just wasn't quite feeling like I was going to be up to doing the film as much justice as possible without doing deeper research in the entire thing, into the origins of the what is it? The guy who created Conan, whatever the hell his name was, is not on here. Whatever the case was, the guy who created Conan, all that type of stuff. I gotta get deeper into this. I gotta look into some different sources than just the documentary and the Blu-ray, DVD, or whatnot. I need to get into some deeper sources to get a little more out of the substance of what I need to get into to research this, to give it a full spectrum, informative review. So I feel like, okay, I need to put this on pause. And then I was like, okay, I got re-energized to do the Star Trek 6 one, obviously, because I got that out. Thanks so much for your interactions and your comments and your likes and all that type of stuff. I really appreciate it, guys. That really kind of brought me back up out of it after I finished the review. And I felt like I was kind of a little bit on the burnout. It's like, I don't want to hear about Star Trek. I don't want to see anything about Star Trek. Just get it out of my face. But once I saw the comments, you guys were very appreciative of the review. I felt very much re-energized for it and all that type of stuff. So there is another Star Trek video, not a film, but an anniversary that's coming up at the end of September that I've been planning on doing, and that kind of re-energized me to like, okay, I'm keeping that on the schedule. So once I get closer to that, I'll let you guys know. But anyone who's somewhat informed will probably be able to figure it out. I'll definitely talk to you guys about that at a later time. But when I was getting the Conan one, which was not terribly much, I think it was about $10 or so off of Amazon. I didn't have a Prime subscription or whatnot, so I wanted to get up to the free shipping threshold, so I ended up grabbing some stuff that I really just never pulled the trigger on getting in HD, and one of them was Phantasm, the first film, the remastered edition. And I'm keeping my Anchor Bay DVD of it because they don't have all the features from that ported onto this. I think on like one of the big box sets they do, at least more. They have more features and whatnot, but all that stuff is very pricey and it's too much to get into. And just like, okay, the first one is still my favorite because I watched the second one recently again. It's like, yeah, I just like the atmosphere of the first one. I like the surreal quality of it. Just like, it feels more like it has more mystique to it. The second one is definitely the much more kind of straightforward, kind of action-y type of thing. It's a little bit more, it's a little easier to follow as a story. It just makes more sense. It's a more coherent film. Just talking about the first one, it just has that great autumn atmosphere, all these different things. Everything I said in my franchise retrospective pre-Ravager, I never saw Ravager. I couldn't pull myself to do that after I saw the trailers. Just like, I can't watch this. I can't do it. But everything I did on that old retrospective still holds up. I still really like this. And if you looked at, and the comparison stills between this and one of the DVD releases, it looks phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And they did this. I know on the newer release they did a Dolby Atmos track, but this one just has a good, I think, a 5.1 remix or whatnot. So I got to check this out when it gets a little bit more into that autumn atmosphere, season or whatnot. It'll be really good. And been sitting on this since they announced it. I think, God, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe longer. I can't keep track. Whenever I last maybe did a Blu-ray news video, because I kind of got, I'll get into that later. But I grabbed up Fright Night. Now, Steve's not a fan of the film at all, so there's no commentary coming or anything like that, but you can go back, watch my old review of the film back in 2016. I really enjoyed it because I had met Chris Sarandon at a Day of the Dead convention some time ago, and I incorporated some of the information he had from his panel into that review, and got all that good stuff going on there. And it's like, I haven't really sat down and watched this, but I had to get it because all I had obviously was the old DVD release, and just like, this has everything you could possibly want from it. And I've had the 2 commentaries that were done for the Icons of Fright website. I had those downloaded for fucking years. Never really sat down and listened to them at all. So now I've got them on the Blu-ray where I can just do it a lot more conveniently or whatnot. But the other week I was like, certain things led me down a certain path, and I was like, man, I need some Tony Scott, man. I need more Tony Scott, and I pulled the trigger on some cheap copies of Crimson Tide and Enemy of the State. Crimson Tide I had not owned. I only first saw it a couple years ago. It was really good. Gene Hackman, Denzel Washington. You can't go wrong with that at all. And of course, Gene Hackman and Will Smith. Can't really go wrong with that either. And it's kind of an interesting thing because these are both the theatrical versions of the film, because they put out these sort of extended versions. They were not director's cuts in any way. They just did, because the original DVD releases were not anamorphic. There's ports of the Laserdisc, I imagine. And then they did these re-releases with the extended cuts of the film that just add more scenes back in the film, just randomly as a marketing type of gimmick. And I did get one for Enemy of the State. I was like, this film really I kept thinking all the years, like, the film really needed a special edition. And it's not much of one. Like I said, there's a few inconsequential scenes added back into it. There's one featurette and trailer and some deleted scenes. So it's not too much, but it's a little bit more than what Crimson Tide has, I think. So sad that Tony Scott's gone now, because his films really could have benefited from a lot more input from him. His commentary, stuff like that. And I think maybe maybe True Romance probably has that big set of features and all that type of stuff to really kind of get into the film a lot deeper. These films, which were produced from Touchstone, which is owned by Disney, which they really don't kind of go back and do a lot of catalog remasters or anything like that, or new big sets or anything like that. So I feel like these are probably going to be the way they're going to be. And any remasters they're going to do are probably going to go straight to VOD, so you're probably not going to greatly see a lot of stuff from their back catalog, get these fresh new 4K releases, stuff like that. They just don't seem very interested in doing that. There's a lot of films in their back catalog that I think it deserve a whole lot better treatment than they have. Michael Mann's The Insider is one of them. I've never bought that Blu-ray because it's like, this thing deserves a whole lot better. Because Mann will record a commentary at the drop of a hat, man. You'd ask him to record a commentary for it, he'd do it in a heartbeat. And they haven't. They just have a couple inconsequential interviews on the disc, and just like, they didn't have anyone, whether it's him or his cinematographer. I think it was Dante Spinotti who did Heat and Manhunter, stuff like that. They didn't consult them on the transfers or anything like that. So I really like to just have them license it out to someone who would do more with it. Kino Lorber or maybe Criterion, maybe, because they did Thief. I'd love to see him do something more with that. But anyway, moving on to other stuff, is that interesting type of title, because I did have a bit of a thing trying to get the score CD for this, which is very much out of print. You can't really find it anywhere. And apparently, when I ordered it on eBay, they actually kind of had the wrong album cover on. They had the score album cover for it instead of the actual one, which is the CD rock soundtrack thing, which is probably not within reach right now. But any which way, it's a little contentious. I got Crow's City of Angels on DVD here because I listened to the score for the first film on a fairly regular basis. I got a little bit hooked on things, and one of my favorite videos from Cecil over Good Bad Flicks is on this film. The way he deconstructed that film and gave us so much insight into what the director's proper vision for the film actually was, makes me appreciate the potential what that film should have been. Now, obviously, what we get here is very much a tampered with and not a director's cut, as this stupid thing says. It's not just a slightly extended version from the theatrical cut, but figure, okay, if I have an inkling to just have something with this film, I decided to go with the DVD version because it has the most bonus features on it, because none of the Blu-rays have the commentary track. I haven't listened to it, but I think it's probably just like different interviews spliced together from the producer and composer Graham Revell and actor Richard Brooks, production designer and costume designer, stuff like that. They're probably just like splicing interview clips, but it's like they never pour that over to the Blu-rays and stuff like that. So, and the Blu-rays are kind of very difficult and stuff like that. The main Blu-ray is like 1080i, and it's like the theatrical cut. But then if you get the one that's bundled with Wicked Prayer, probably the worst sequel out there, which I never saw, but I heard terrible things about it. That was actually the full length version that's on this disc in 1080p, but you gotta get it with that other terrible film and stuff like that. It's really messy. It's a real mess of how that Miramax, the people who own the Miramax stuff, just treat the catalog like garbage. It's just not good. Not good at all. But I figure I just had this inkling, I had this urge to just have something. So I did end up getting a download of the score soundtrack from Graham Revell, which again is completely out of print. It's almost impossible to find. You can still get the rock soundtrack on iTunes and such. You can't get Graham Revell's score, which is a crime because he's a fantastic composer. Really does some awesome stuff, especially with those Crow soundtracks. He does a fantastic job with it. Really deserves more love. But moving on to something that I am putting up on the schedule here as a review, potentially very soon. Or Rutger Hauer, man, Wanted Dead or Alive. Him and Gene Simmons. I popped this in the other night. I watched the interview with director Gary Sherman, who did Vice Squad. He did Poltergeist 3 and a few other good films. Films I think are pretty good. But I watched his interview on it. It's like Kino Lorber, even if they don't have them flashiest sort of bonus features, man, whoever's doing these interviews, they do a really damn good job. I really liked, again, when I did the reviews for FX, they did a really good job with the first film interviewing the director of that thing, Robert Mandel. It was a very engaging interview. They asked all the right questions to get the most out of the guy's background, what he thought about the film and the process of doing it, stuff like that. And they did just as good of a job here with Gary Sherman. He's a very engaging personality. The commentary track is fun, but I feel there's a lot of recycled information in it. I didn't sit down and listen to the full thing. So I felt like it's an enjoyable listening. It didn't give me any more deeper insight into production information. So I just kind of like, okay, I got the information I need, and I got kind of move forward on this. So I'm good with this. I'm good. It's like the remaster they did on this thing looks really good. They did a really good job of it, because there's apparently like this German Blu-ray. It looks like garbage. Throw it in the trash. This thing is region A locked, but if you got a region free player or whatnot outside of US, this is definitely the version to get. It's very good quality, very beefy bit rate on this thing. It looks really nice. I'll have to talk about this a lot. I'm really interested to get this and talk about it. It was like I was interested in putting it on the schedule last year when they announced the disc, and I just never really pulled the trigger on the whole thing. I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to get into this because it's a nice, easy type of thing. The Star Trek video was very, very elaborate. And it's a little bit easier to get into, especially with the schedule I have right now. It needs a little bit easier to get in and out of here, whatnot, but still maintain my certain level of quality of other good stuff, and just like all for it. So get a little Rutger Hauer's like, I want to do The Hitcher so bad. I've been wanting to do it for years. I know there's a Blu-ray release overseas, but apparently it's taken from a theatrical print of the film. And obviously it's the best the film has ever looked on home video. But even though it's like region free, I just want someone in the States just to have a chance to maybe find a original negative or enter positive, something like that, a little higher quality, a better version, something like that. Just like someone here has got to give it a chance, because I think HBO owns the rights, which means it's Warner Brothers. So it's like, get a Warner Archive release, and those are goddamn good transfers. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to find out. I don't know, because I know I've been following the writer-director or whatnot of The Hitcher, Eric Red, on Twitter for some time. And I think it was maybe about 2 years ago. I asked him if there might be a chance of a Blu-ray coming up, and he did say there was, but obviously Maybe it was that type of thing where they were doing that over in Germany, stuff like that, getting that theatrical print transferred, stuff like that. I don't know, but whatnot. That's good stuff. The film is, Hitcher is phenomenal. If you've not seen it, I can't say go find it because on HBO they have an even worse version of it that's on DVD. It's fucking letterboxed 4:3 widescreen. Is terrible. Just it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it right now. That's why I need to wait for a proper Blu-ray release here or a streaming version of it. So when I talk about it, people can actually go watch it in the best quality instead of having to hunt it down as a overseas Blu-ray and import it from somewhere. Just like it needs to be. When I talk about the film, I need it to be widely available, easily accessible, because it's a phenomenal film. So that's my gushing on another Rutger Hauer movie. There's plenty of those to talk about. But last thing here on the pickup thing is The Prophecy. Now, this is very interesting because I got my heads twisted around, stuff like that, about things with The Prophecy lately. And it's another one of these Miramax titles that's been treated like shit. But I had, for the longest time, just the original DVD release, which is non-anamorphic, widescreen. But Echo Bridge, as much crap as they are as a distributor, put no effort into anything. I did get this. This is the anamorphic version, and there is a noticeable, if marginal, improvement on the picture quality. Don't get the Blu-ray, because it's the exact same thing as this. It's a standard definition quality, punched up to 1080p. It's not worth getting. It looks like garbage. It's not HD quality. It's not worth getting. But I grabbed this because I might, I don't know, it's just something in the back of my head. I feel like the Prophecy video I did before could use a new shine to it. I don't know, but it's just the fact, again, the quality of the releases aren't very good, and I am very combative about doing stuff where the quality isn't that good. So, all these different things. But it's like, it's a phenomenal film. I really love it. Just listening to a podcast episode where there was an interview with Gregory Wyden, who created Highlander and obviously did the writing and directing on The Prophecy, and he felt like Prophecy, because it's so much his film, because he wrote it, he directed it, he has the strongest love for it, the strongest connection back to it, and so all these different things, just like one of these films that deserves better, but I don't know, one of these things that just like, it just deserves a little bit something better. I think I could do something more with it if I have the time for it. But there's a lot of things I want to get to ahead of doing something like that. Anyway, I'm just getting a little foggy in the head or whatnot, but it's a long, long update. There's something else I wanted to do, but since we're like half an hour in, I don't want to go off another half an hour here. But I think in the next video you might see from me in this format, is that I was thinking about lately, it's like there's a lot of things I could get into in terms of not like physical behind the scenes stuff, but like some interesting behind the scenes stories behind the creation of some of the videos on the channel. Certain things certain like snafus and kind of difficulties I had and weird things that happened when I was trying to produce certain videos. Now I probably have to go back through the list of everything I've done and kind of get a little bit more coherency in the stories of what I want to talk about, but there's a lot of interesting little things I think you guys would be entertained to hear about, and like how sometimes I would delete the wrong footage of what I recorded for the video, and like I had to go back and try to re-record it from memory like 2 days later. That's not fun, and I did that a couple of times, and that'd be interesting to get into and talk about, and there's a lot of stuff to get into. I think that'd be interesting. But right now, I'll leave it at this, because I don't want to go on for like an hour here. I think it was a nice, solid thing to get into. And again, there's sci-fi things. I still want to get to the hidden. So I want to get into that. It's kind of been batting back around in my head here. I just want to feel like when I'm really ready to devote the time to it, I want to get into that. So it keeps remaining just in like fingertips length of me doing it. So it's going to get up there definitely before October, before the end of September. I will be getting to that at the latest. But there's a lot of stuff I want to get into, and I had, again, the thought of doing back in February, which feels like a goddamn ancient time right now, where I wanted to do that whole video redux on the Miami Vice movie from 2006. Kind of fell off the feeling of that because of things happening. It didn't feel like a dark, grim sort of thriller movie like that felt like the best thing to devote my time to. But I'm getting the kind of feel of it again. A little bit here and there. Not saying I'm jumping into that right now, but it's a little bit back on the tentative schedule here. But Wanted Dead or Alive is definitely up there. I'm definitely looking to get into that soon. I do want to do a couple things that are like a little bit of a follow-up to videos I did a long time ago. I want to do Chronicles of Riddick. I don't care. I don't fucking care. I did Pitch Black 5 years ago. I thought I was going to do Chronicles later on. I never really got anyone kind of interested in me doing it. But I just kind of want to do it. I don't know what the general consensus of the film is. I know there's a couple of people I know about that really like the shit out of that film. But I don't know. I'm just kind of interested in doing it. It's like, goddamn, I watched the trailer because like, fuck, I want to do this film. I want to cover this. I don't want to watch this film again. So I want to get into that. Again, another film with a great Graham Revell score, which is always worthwhile. But there's that, and again, The Hidden, and a few other little things I'm kind of just swirling around. One of these Tony Scott films is going to end up on the channel soon. It's Crimson Tide, Enemy of the State, Last Boy Scout. I'm going to get to something here. So one of the three of them is going to land somewhere in the next couple of months. So there's that, and again, commentaries. We've gotten Hills of Eyes Remake 1 coming up this week very soon. And we're going to have Return of the Living Dead coming up after that. Let me just tease a little something. What we're getting towards, this is jumping a few months down the line, but regardless, we're getting to Saw. I have to sit down and watch them. We're getting to Saw. You gotta get to Saw, man. You gotta get to this. We've been teasing it and talking about it for so long. We gotta get to it. We're gonna get to it. We've had this thing set in stone for so goddamn long. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sit down. I got a 3-pack of the first 3 films. I'm just gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch them. We're gonna do the commentaries. No holds barred. Straight up. We're gonna do it. So that's gonna be October. It's gonna be Saw all October. Not the whole franchise, but at least the first 2 or 3 films. We're getting to it. So look forward to that down the line. So thanks guys so much for sticking around here and finding the channel and engaging and doing all these wonderful things. There's a lot of things to get into. There's a lot of stuff to talk about there. So hopefully there's some channels in here you have a little bit of a charge for and you're kind of interested in getting more from me out of those. And especially again, the retro video series thing again is up on Patreon right now. $1, whatever you want to pledge for the 1 month, you'll be able to see that right away. Or you can just wait until next week when it goes completely live. You can watch it yourself and see what I can go for, because I have some heavier weight titles in the pipeline. Just felt like the Scream director's cut was the easiest one for me to kind of slip into and get jump started into doing it, because I kept like mulling around too much and kind of like thinking about it, and it's like, just shoot something, just shoot an episode, get it in the can, see how you feel about it. And so there it is. So guys, thanks so much. Stay well. Take care. Bye bye.